I'm Drea.
I'm Meg.
I'm Tina.
And I'm Jess. And this is Pardon My Stash. Welcome to Pardon My Stash, a podcast about knitting, the fiber arts, and how awesome it is.
Woo!
Before we delve into this week's topics, let's see what everyone's working on currently. Drea?
I am currently contemplating my pattern.
No.
Oh no.
No, I don't think it's that bad. I'm literally just sitting here with the pattern in front of me and I'm reading it and my project is right next to me and I'm just not doing it.
You're just like,
I forgot it was something that I was supposed to be doing.
that is a pattern.
So
And these are the directions.
You know what? Let me pull this out.
I mean, do you want to do some brioche?
No.
Oh.
Wow. That was blunt. I have to remind myself how to do brioche every
fair.
time I pick up a brioche pattern.
Fair. I was just offering a tiny project, something easy.
Hats.
We okay over here?
It was a day, man. I am working on the Akemi shawl by Isabel Kramer, and I'm using Silver Moon Fiber Arts fingering weight in the colorway Faded Jeans.
Denim.
Wow. That's a new sound.
I've been dying to use that ever since I put it on this thing. Sorry.
My project sounds so sad now. But if we needed any sounds, we needed
got
a
it.
sad
We
drum.
got it.
We really we finally got some horns in here.
Just for you.
Even if they're sad horns.
Still horns.
Oh, God.
All right. Meg?
So I made a minor mistake in my sun drop pullover by Laura Aylor. I am on the third change of pattern, so I'm getting close to the hem. I love it. That's why I am taking the time to tink it back instead of putting it in a bag and hiding it somewhere where I don't have to look at it for the foreseeable future, which is what I usually do when I make mistakes.
It's so pretty.
Thank you. I love it. I can't wait to wear it.
It's going to look really good on you,
My
too.
favorite part is that these are going to be short sleeves.
Yeah.
That's like 3 inches of knitting. That's so much better than the long sleeves.
So good.
And I am knitting it out of Dragon Horde yarn gnome tweed sock in the color Fairy Yule Tree.
Very good.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Tina?
Angle sweater, string NYC, Dolcetto DK in gray, dark gray, and red. And this will never end. The end.
It will. You're getting close. It's
It
almost
goes
done.
on and on, my friend.
No, I am. I just, you know what it is like, I feel like once I bind off the body, I will realize how much I did. But,
Yes.
But right now, it just feels like I have been knitting body, yada, yada.
You're in the black.
For a
Yada,
long,
yada, 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 yada.
for a long time. We are weird tonight. Jess?
I am working on the knit flower basket tea cozy because I kind of put it down for a while.
Kind of.
Just kind of.
I haven't seen that in like a month.
Because I was doing it on recording days because it was easy to do. And we haven't gotten a chance to record in a bit. So I forgot about it and I was doing other stuff. But I'm picking this back up. And I have half of one side done.
That's more than. Hey, listen.
Look at
That is more than any other person at this table has done on their knit along.
Listen. It's
Hey,
not
you never asked.
I'm not wrong.
You never asked.
Have you started your knit along?
No.
Yeah. Have I started my knit along? No.
Have I started mine? No.
No.
I started
Overachiever.
I've even got a whole side of basket stitch done.
Which is really
Which-
impressive.
It looks cute, but I'm not gonna lie.
That's hard for
I
you.
got bored with it after the second row, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
But it's gonna look wicked
It's gonna be
cute.
short because I'm doing a short little teapot. So I'm like, "Oh yeah," they told me to do like double this, and I'm not doing that.
I still got to start my snail, but I need to like.
You got time.
No, you do have
Yeah.
time. I made it a long one for anyone that suffers these kinds of issues. So
That's me. I mean, to be fair,
It fits in so many ways. I'm going to use that thing all night tonight.
I was gonna say, to be fair, I just moved, so I'm still like
I
finding all my stuff.
I could do it again, but I'll
Please
save.
don't. I do love the horns, though. Kind of gives me
The
life.
horns are awesome. But if you want to see pictures of these projects or get some information about Pardon My Stash, be sure to check out our website, pardonmystash.com, for info, pics, patterns, and yarns. So this week's topic, we're going to talk about how do you know when you're ready to start jumping into some more difficult or different fiber activities.
You gotta feel it.
Yes.
Also-
That's fair. That's a big fairness.
Yeah.
That's the
You gotta
biggest.
feel it.
Because if you're not feeling it, it's just not.
Yeah, you can't-
Even if you're scared about it, you have to have that sort of like flutter of, but I want to
do it. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, because honestly, if you force yourself to do something, you'll just hate it more.
Yeah. Or you'll find like, when, because a lot of times you will make mistakes and they will be far less easy to fix and or come to terms with if you're not enjoying it at all. And in fact, it'll just like back up your thought of, no, I didn't want to move on to harder stuff yet. But if you got that feeling, if you got that itch, then, the whole journey is just kind of like, yeah.
Or if you
discovering new
find
stuff.
yourself really bored.
I was
Yes.
just about to say
If you
that,
are like,
yeah.
I don't want to knit anymore. I hate knitting because I can't stand doing the same project again. It's probably time to
Instead of
get
giving it up
adventurous.
completely, try something new.
It's probably not the knitting. It's probably the project.
I was gonna say that could be the feeling that
yeah,
describe
that's
is
that-
that is it. It's when you feel like you're not being challenged anymore.
Right.
Yep.
So
And moving on could it doesn't have to be like, jumping into something super huge. Like it could just be like, you know what? I'm done with just doing a garter stitch. I'm going to learn how to purl. And that counts because sometimes that can be difficult.
yeah, we're not necessarily speaking like it has to be this like complex stitch that
No.
only master knitters know. It's just literally like the next step for you. It could be a small step, it could be a huge step. And also, it doesn't necessarily mean you need to switch project types.
Yeah.
Like, if you like making hats and you just want to make hats for the rest of your life, like that's fine. But there's such a thing of a basic hat and a very complex
Well,
hat.
it's like maybe you always do bottom up hats, so do a top down hat. Or maybe you've done hats like all in continental style and now you're going to try European style. Like it could be as easy as switching up the manner of your knitting. It could be from like regular crochet to like Tunisian crochet. Like
I was so happy doing garter stitch songs.
you
for
were.
like years.
and then
It was multiple years.
Yep.
Nothing fancy.
Just
Knit the front, knit the back until it's
and
long
then
enough to
just
be a
keep
scarf.
going.
And for some people, that may also be the case that it takes a long time before you feel that like kind of itch. But then for some people, they might like. I feel
it.
like Jess in particular would be like, I've done this. I'm accomplished and done.
Do you know what? I don't think mine was like that at all. I think I saw Meg moving on.
And then you felt peer pressure.
And then yeah, like you moved on to stuff, onto different stuff.
So
and-
I
and
learned how
newer
to purl.
Yep.
Because it took me a really long time. I tried to learn how to purl and I did really poorly. And then my former mother-in-law gave me a book that had a really, really good diagram, step-by-step how to purl, which I think a lot of people just assume like, oh, it's super easy. And it's not.
kinda
like
weird.
it's a little daunting.
You just have to figure it out.
But that's the thing is like I didn't make a big jump though. Like I learned how to purl and I was like, oh, now I can do stockinette.
Yeah.
And I stayed there for a very long time.
No, but it's true. Like I saw you doing
I did not
new
know that.
stuff, and I was like, oh, well, I want to do that. It wasn't even like I wanted to challenge myself. I was just like, oh,
There are options.
yeah,
There are other things that I could do.
yeah. And then you started doing hats, and I was like, oh, I can do a hat.
I made a goat hat.
Yeah, you did. I
And
remember
then I made a pattern for a hat with runes for Paul.
You did. That was pretty cool, though.
I like that one.
You had a time where, and I remember you made a koi fish hat. Like you had a
Yep.
time where you were just making crazy hats,
making
like
crazy
off the
hats.
cuff.
I am also in a hat phase.
Yep.
I am definitely in.
I feel like I need to redo that koi hat because that was a lot of fun. And looking at it now, I'm like, wow, I just sort of went until it was a shape, but I feel like I understand more about how hats knit up that I can make that look a little better now.
But see, I think the great thing about hats is, and kind of, if you think about it, the great thing about any bit pattern, anything you do, even just a scarf, you could do nothing but scarves and do something different every single time and learn a
true.
different technique every single time. It's one of the great things about knitting. You could knit a hat a week for the rest of your life and never repeat or come close to repeating the same type of pattern. There's just so many different ones. So if there's not like a pressure to be like, okay, I've gotten really good at hats. Now I need to move on to sweaters or I'm not a complete knitter. You could just keep knitting hats and be every bit as prolific because you're learning new techniques.
I really dislike the idea that being a good knitter means you can make multiple things. I really don't think.
No,
that,
I don't. I agree with that.
No, I'm agreeing with you.
Absolutely.
This is me agreeing with you.
But I feel like there is a lot of pressure
Yeah.
that, if I don't do like complex lace, I'm not a real knitter. If I don't steek, I'm not a complete knitter. And
I feel like the sweater thing is a thing. Like where people,
absolutely.
like
It's
if
definitely
you,
a thing.
If you don't make a sweater, like you're not really a knitter. You're like still a beginner or you're still whatever. And I just don't like. What if you just don't want to make a sweater? Like it could be for multiple different reasons. It could be one, you just have a sensory issue. You don't like wearing sweaters. So why would you make a sweater? Or like it's just impractical for like your lifestyle, like you're in Arizona, or you're just like, I don't know. It's just like you don't need to make it.
sweaters are also, when it comes down to it, the construction on a whole is very, like, it doesn't vary very much. Wow. How many times can I say that? It doesn't vary.
Differ.
It doesn't differ very much. So, you have the body, you have the sleeves. The construction, might vary between a round yoke and a raglan. Every so often you might get one that's a little bit more cleverly put together. But generally, a base pattern for a sweater is a base pattern for a sweater. And there aren't a lot of different fancy ways to do that. I used to follow, I still follow her. Her name is Grumperina. She used to have a blog. She doesn't really anymore. She's a knitter out of Boston. And she knit her first sweater within the first year that she learned how to knit, because she was the type of knitter like Jess that was like, how complicated can I make this? Like, I want to learn all the complicated stuff. And after, I want to say like a year or two, she did this great blog post. And if her blog goes back online, or maybe it is back online, I should check after this. And if I ever find it, I'll link it on our blog, where she kind of like came out and said, guys, I don't like to knit sweaters. And she's like, I feel like there is so much pressure that you're not a complete knitter until you knit a sweater. And she's like, I just don't like it. Like, I don't find it enjoyable. Like, I like wearing sweaters, but it takes so long, and it's not really enough of a challenge. A fancy yoke or maybe like a different detail could be fun to do, but she's like, I don't want to do it. I want to knit accessories. I want to knit like hats and shawls and like, fun things like that. And it's not about the, this is too difficult, because this is the person that knit the Crown Prince stole that had like 2,200 noops in it. Like this woman had
Drea's
commitment.
nightmare.
It really is.
I would never do that pattern.
I feel like Drea just wouldn't like Estonian lace, period. It's all
No,
noops.
probably not.
It's a lot of noops. But
I'm not a lace person, though.
no, and neither am
I
I.
know that about myself.
And that no, like lace like
pattern.
knitting, like a lace yarn.
Okay.
Oh, lace weights.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought you said making lace, because I'm like, that pattern is lace.
No, but it's not
But is
out
it
of lace
fancy
weight.
lace?
Okay, you
Not
said lace.
really.
You didn't specify fancy. Okay.
I mean, there's like
Sorry,
But-
semantics.
But that I don't
couple
know.
yarn overs, Tina. Calm down.
Even at the time, and I remember because I could barely purl at the time that I read it, but I remember it really resonated with me that this was somebody that I really respected as a really great knitter who was just like, you know what, I don't like to knit sweaters. What of it?
Yeah, and I think there's a bit of bravery with that because I have heard directly from people, not online, like in person, someone say like, yeah, like, you know, hitting the pinnacle of knitting is like, you know, this or that. Like it's either sweaters or steeking or like something that makes you like, okay. And okay, I'm going to clear it up real quick, real easy, okay? If you think you need to be at the pinnacle of knitting, do the Master Knitter course and get your certification. There you go. Congratulations. The rest of us are going to just enjoy what we make. Like nobody needs to be peer pressured into like doing anything that they don't want to do. So like, but and I will attest to this after making multiple sweaters and garments. I have to be in the mood for it. Usually I am, but you know, there are times that I'm just like, I don't want to do that right now. I just want to make a hat. I just want to make some gloves, and I just do what mood strikes me. And so far, it's been hats recently. I've been
Everybody
making.
goes through phases.
Yeah. So yeah, I just don't feel like if you're listening to this, like if you feel any kind of pressure to do a project that you don't really think that you'll enjoy, like just don't. Just don't, man. Like just do what you want to do.
Also, it doesn't matter what heights you think you've reached, how great you've become, you're still as susceptible to dumb mistakes as you were when you were a beginner. Like, I knit 3 sweaters last year because I knit the little one for Mariel and I knit 2 for myself. And for me, that was like a massive goal, was being able to knit an adult sweater. And I finished my second adult sweater and I felt pretty good. And then 2 weeks later, I had 2 needles of 2 different sizes on my thing. And I knit like a quarter of a project without realizing it. So,
well, I was going to
move to
say
the next
like
step.
because I was, and everyone's pointed it out that I have always been, I am never going to do a sweater. And that was true. I had no interest. I would look at sweaters and be like, oh, that's kind of cool looking. I don't want to do it. Don't want to do it. And then I saw a pattern and I was like, oh, that's a real cool pattern. It's like swords and based on tarot and a lot of things that I'm super interested in. It's really pretty. I still don't want to do a sweater. But that kept happening for months. And I was finally like,
The same pattern?
the same pattern, the same pattern. So
calling you.
I was finally like, maybe I could try to do a sweater. Like, but it would have to be this one. Like, this is the one. I'm not going to do like a workup sweater. It's just, this is the one that keeps popping up that I'm like, but it's so nice. And I feel like you need something like that, like to know, like you can totally look at something and be like, I'm not sure if I'm ready. So don't hop on it right away. Wait, come back to it. See if you have the same feels when you look at it the second time or the third time. Like, because there are a lot of things that you'll look back on. Like there's plenty of save projects I have that I look back on like a couple months later. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want that.
I'm never going to knit that.
I don't want to do that. Why did I like this before? Like, I'm never
It's
going to
pretty,
be able
but
to do
it's
that.
not for me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, it's beautiful. Did I just like it because I like looking at it? That's fair. It'll stay in there for that reason. And that's fair. I feel like if it is something, especially a bigger step, like if it is something that's a big leap kind of project, you do want to make sure you're ready for it and you're not just doing it because of peer pressure or anything like that. Like, you got to be ready for it, and it's okay if you're not, and if you don't want to. Like, no one really should be making you feel bad if you're like, yeah, guys, no, I'm just not feeling this. I mean, a couple of years ago, I think I was, because I did a shawl and you guys all did sweaters
Last year.
and that was fine. It was like, yep, wasn't feeling a sweater that
Because
year.
we're supportive.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if you're around people trying to make you make a sweater, then they're not supportive.
Yeah.
No, you should do what you want to do.
Like, if you are just not feeling that other project, then don't do it. Because then you'll start to like resent it, I feel like, and it'll turn into one of those endless whips.
I feel like a lot of my projects I started like when I was ready to move on to newer things, it was always because somebody else was doing it and I was like, oh, I could do that. But I always picked a pattern that was more based on construction than like skill, if that makes sense. Like I would pick a pattern that would show me how to make the thing, and then I would be stuck on that garment, that accessory for however long, and I would do as many crazy patterns as I could. Except for when I did the sweater, I just kind of went ham on that.
I feel like sometimes with sweater, you just have to dive in.
Yeah.
But that
just do
one,
it.
you were on a big cable kick, so you found one that had like
Lots of cables.
lots of cables. Yeah. And that was something you were super interested in at the time. And
yeah, and it was going to hold my interest.
yeah.
So I was really, I had wanted for years to do a sweater, and I was really, because it's me, I really doubted my ability to be able to put a sweater together. And one of the things that helped me get the confidence to do a sweater was doing the Feodora capelet first, because it was kind of like
a first step.
it was like a wading pool for a sweater. Like I learned how to do a collar and how to increase the yoke, and I did the collar work. The only real difference is I never split for the sleeves. And when I was finished with it, like I had a garment that had some shaping to it, that had just as much, work put into it as the yoke of any sweater. And after that, I'm kind of like, okay, well, if I did all of that, the only thing that I haven't done yet is splitting for sleeves and then picking up the stitches for sleeves and knitting them. And knitting is knitting, so I already know how to do that. And that gave me the confidence to be like, okay, well, if I did this project, I can take the next step. And sometimes maybe that is kind of what you need to do if you're somebody like me who has very little confidence and gets anxious about trying something new, is maybe break it down into smaller steps and be like, let me try this first. That's why I'm doing the coffee cup steek thing. Instead of going like full hog and being like, let me steek a sweater, I'm going to do the coffee mug holder. What's it called? Cozy.
The cozy.
That's the word I'm looking for. Because that's not as big a commitment. And if I completely screw it up, I've only cut up a tea cozy or a cup cozy, not a full-blown colorwork sweater that I have spent months on. So sometimes baby steps really help.
Well, I found too with anything that I'm doing that's a bit more complicated, I like to go like skim through the pattern and make sure I at the very least have an idea of like for the sweater I knew the type of short rows that they used, so I was like, okay, this is good. I still had to YouTube it and make sure I remembered, because German short rows are a little weird and I always kind of pull the legs the wrong way sometimes, but I had a basic understanding of it, so when I got to it, it wasn't slowing me down, which I knew, like, if I got stuck on a part, it would, kind of ruin your whole drive. So I feel like if that's something that you know about yourself, if you get stuck on a part, or like if you get stuck on something, it kills your drive, to maybe go over the pattern first and just make sure you know any of the stitches that it requires. And so you're ready to go and you don't risk running into this sort of like hiccup or hurdle that that's going to throw you off.
That is such a good tip, and I am so bad at remembering to do it. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And then I get to a point in the pattern, and I'm like, oh, no.
Oh, no.
I like to make baby versions of whatever I'm trying to make.
That's a smart idea, too.
So actually, when I made your set for Mariel, that was my foray into sweaters and
Was it
socks.
really?
Yeah, because I had never made a sweater or sock before. And I was like, well, if I can make one for a newborn, I can make one for an adult.
Now just do this, but bigger.
Yeah, pretty much. But like, you learn the technique,
Right?
Like,
Yeah.
So it
Right.
was
Actually really smart.
yeah. So that
I didn't
was
do that.
yeah. No, that's okay.
I did with the outlet sweater that I did for
Yeah.
Mariel. It was not like an infant, but
was the
it
first
was
one you
still
did, right?
Yep,
Yep.
it was still small, and it was like, okay, let me. And it was also kind of like, do I hate this?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
am I going
Yeah.
to hate this? Is this maybe a lesser commitment? Figure out if you even want to knit a sweater.
Yeah. So before you jump into that 3X sweater,
or a pair of socks even.
Yeah.
Like, because socks are a big commitment too. They're small,
but it's 2 projects.
It's 2 projects,
Yep.
and they can be quite complex, and they have a lot of parts.
And the sock piece, it's if you know for a fact that you will not complete the second one, you really should learn how to do magic loop and do them at the same time.
Two at a time. Yeah.
I don't know how to do that.
No, I
never
do,
learned that either.
I do not know how to do it, but I have seen many people when I was in North Carolina did magic
it.
loop,
Yeah.
and I saw kind of the idea of it, and I kind of sort of get it, but like I've never actually tried it. But I never had a problem like doing a second sock. But if
Same.
you know for a fact you're going to finish that first one, Jess, and then be immediately, nope, I don't want to do anymore. Magic loop it, because I believe you can do it with gloves too.
Yes,
I think you can. Yeah.
So yeah.
You knit like slippers, right?
I did. Yeah.
You knit like sock slippers,
Sock slippers.
that were like what, out of like
Oh God, I don't know. but
like
it was
Aran weight
yeah,
yarn?
They were huge. It was kind of like they were super soft.
Not a sock knitter
I-
yet, though. We can't say that anymore now that you're not an anything knitter, because
Something.
the sweater was a surprise.
Something may catch my fancy, and it may be years before it does. Like,
You know, Jess, I think might get you into socks. When I got the stocking from my friend and I had to figure it out, that was really fun. Just FYI. She gave me like a stocking that her grandmother had made for her, and she wanted one for her husband. Her grandmother had already passed. There was no pattern. There wasn't even a hint of a pattern. It was just, she probably didn't use a pattern, to be honest. It was a pretty
yeah,
basic
that's
instruction.
probably just grandma's doing socks with no patterns.
Pretty much. So I was like, okay. And like, I did figure it out. It does look slightly different. Obviously it's going to, but it looks a little different, but it's pretty spot on. And that was fun to figure out.
Well, you
and
got
I
to
feel
reverse
like,
engineer it, right?
yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like Jess would be into that. So maybe I'll find you a stocking that needs a friend.
Well, my aunt has been asking her for like a year now to reverse engineer. My grandmother made like, I don't know, 75 plus Afghans in her
I'm pretty sure
lifetime.
I got
They
that.
were always the same pattern. But my aunt is dying to make it, but she didn't have a pattern. Like, because she had done it so many times, she just hauled off and did it. So my aunt wants to make this Afghan, and she's been asking Jess to reverse engineer the pattern. It's not complicated, but
No, I'm pretty sure I found out how to do it.
did you?
I'm
Okay,
pretty
write it
sure I
down,
did,
because she keeps
so
asking me for
I
it.
got to do that. I'm pretty sure I figured that out.
And she wants
Sounds
to use our
like
yarn.
you need to make a swatch.
like
She swatched for that sweater. Oh, I just want to say that she
did.
swatched for that sweater.
Congratulations.
I did.
Blasphemy.
Welcome to the exclusive club.
Listen, it's a garment I'm going to swatch for. Honestly, the biggest thing that went against me with that was that I did drop another size in the midst of making it. So it's a little baggy, but I like comfy sweaters. So
It
works out.
looks good. It looks good on you.
I'm just going to block it smaller.
I'm not going to help.
Yeah, we're not going to do extreme
I am not going to
blocking.
help her block the
Yeah,
sweater.
you're good for extreme blocking.
It's going to be
If anybody
reverse
ever has like some
extreme
really good
blocking.
lace they want blocked, I am your man.
Oh, that
I
shawl
will-
that looks like a leaf, like that's going to be great.
That one, oh my God. When I ever do that shawl, that's going to be my day. It says block aggressively.
We're like, yeah, there
I
it
got
is.
it. I got it in the bag.
But yeah, no, I do think I figured that stitch out, so I got to write it down for her.
I feel like my
Figured that
pinnacle knitting is going to be 2 at a time socks.
Sweet.
You know what? Okay, this I don't know if I said this to you guys yet, but like, so I've been helping Joe learn basic crochet.
Yeah.
Well, now I want to crochet.
Learn it.
Yeah, you did.
do
Because
it.
remember you asked me for
Yeah.
the granny square.
Yeah, because I want to do it.
Oh,
it.
you should do it.
Well, no, because I was doing it with Joe, and then I was like, oh, wow, this goes up really fast.
See, you're ready to evolve like a
Yeah.
Pokemon.
I am. No, I have to say, besides steeking, I've pretty much done a lot of things. I can't think of a lot of things besides the magic loop with the socks and the steeking. I can't think of a lot of things I haven't done. So I'm just kind of like, and even if like someone has a new technique or something, it's basically a glorified knit, purl, something like, you know. So yeah, when I started helping my youngest daughter with the crochet, she's very much into crochet. She refuses to knit. She says she doesn't understand it. Doesn't make sense. Why use 2 when you can use 1?
Fair.
Fair.
I thought that was a really cute response from a 6-year-old aggressively talking to me about how crochet is better than knitting, but that's okay. So,
Everybody has their preference.
well, Joe has a preference.
I've tried to learn crochet and it just doesn't stick.
I prefer to knit. I can at this point, but you prefer crochet, don't you? Most of the time.
It depends. I mean, crochet works a little faster for me. I did find a crochet blanket that I want to try and do at some point.
You're gonna make a blanket.
Yeah, that's why I haven't done
This
it yet.
year is like
I said that's why I haven't done it yet, but it looks so pretty.
it's
and
just all of the things we thought to be true are not true anymore.
I just so I saved it and I look at it every once in a while and see how I'm feeling, because that's big. That's bigger than a sweater.
You're evolving like a Pokemon.
Dude, blanket is tough.
It's so
As someone who's
commitment.
tried, I've made baby ones, but I can't do the full size. It's just like,
pretty. I want to say it's called
I did
the
a
Harvest
full-size
Moon.
blanket for my brother in 3 months.
oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yep. Big red.
Big red.
Big
Oh,
red.
Big Red.
He still uses that. He loves that blanket.
The one that was originally just a little too big.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say that it like I look at it as like I don't think there'll ever be a time when I'm like I'm done learning how to do anything or I've reached like a pinnacle or anything like that. The one thing that I really do want to do is knit lace. And not out of lace weight because I don't like lace weight, but out of like a fingering weight.
Okay, but
Dude, Jess, that is so up
isn't
your
that
alley.
cool though?
There's so much
Sorry, I'm
stuff.
showing them a
Yeah,
picture
there's
of
so much
this.
stuff going on with that. You will have a field day.
of the reason why I thought I want to make a blanket. You could do it all different colors.
You have to send that to me so I can put it on the blog.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. I just because I know me being like I want to do a blanket was like, Jess, what the hell?
I know. It's so shocking.
It was. I didn't even know you wanted to do that.
I decided 3 days ago that
Recent development.
that I would save it
Breaking news.
News.
and see what happened. And that's all the time we have for this week. For additional content and opportunities to connect with the cast, be sure to check out our Patreon or our website at pardonmystash.com. And remember to tune in next week for more tips, knits, and wits at Pardon My Stash.